Let's try our bass and treble. Perfect. Oh, that sounds so good. Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm back on the 84 300 CD, and today I got back in the original radio that has been restored, and then Bluetooth was added internally. And it's a cool feature. You just turn on the radio, and if at any point you turn on the Bluetooth on your phone, it will automatically connect to the radio and stream Bluetooth from your phone. You don't have to do anything. So here we go. Here is the radio. It's in excellent condition. And we can see we have Bluetooth added. And there's the original Becker 612 radio. So let's go ahead and get this in the car, and we're going to sort out the original wiring. All right, guys. So this car had an aftermarket radio in it. And here is the modern harness. Now, the good thing is, they simply spliced that modern harness onto the original wiring. And I can see we have our brown ground, our red hot, our blue, I think that's accessory ignition. Here's our speaker wires right here. So there's all the original wiring still intact. So all we need to do is clip out this harness, and then I have the correct ends to solder and splice back onto the original wiring. I have the original Becker connector and the original speaker connectors, and we're just going to splice those right in like they spliced in this harness, but we're going to solder it because that's the correct way to do it. The good thing is they did not mutilate this original wiring. And there we go, guys. There's the aftermarket harness we've taken out. So let's just toss that. And we're going to get our new wiring. I keep a baggie of original old stock wiring. See, it's all right there. Let's take a look at what we have here. Okay, here is the original wiring that came in these cars. Okay, so right here, we have, there's our red, brown, black, and gray. And those, you saw those were the colors in the car. And there's our power cable right there. And there's our speaker connection. See, this plugs in right here to the, that's our original speaker connection for the left, or the front speakers. And here's the original speaker connection for the rear speakers. And that's it, guys. Very simple setup. So let's go ahead and get this stuff wired into the car. So here we go. We can see there's the wires that go with this connector right there. We're going to go ahead and strip these back a little. And the battery is disconnected too, guys. One more. Okay. Now, before we actually solder it, I'm just going to do a temporary twist connection. Also, I want to put on my heat shrink because we will eventually solder it. So I'm going to put it over this side. Because the heat shrink will then protect it from everything else. These radios are really, really simple to hook up. The only tricky part that really throws people for a loop is that all the speakers run through the fader switch. And here's the connector for the fader switch down here. And that really throws people for a loop. They can't figure out where the speaker wires go. They all run through the fader switch. So if your fader switch is bad, your speakers won't work. All right, let me get some sheath to put around here, and then we'll twist these on. Also, what we have that I haven't showed you guys, this little blue wire, that's the antenna control. And we're going to need to put on a spade connector there because it plugs into the back of the radio. All right, guys. Keep in mind, none of these are soldered yet. So on the radio, there's where the antenna spade connector goes. There's where the main power plug. Here's the antenna, and then there's the speakers. Antenna signal. Spade connection. All right, main harness. Let's plug that in. Okay, the lights are still out in the shop, guys, so I can see the lights on the radio. I'm just going to plug my fader switch in. All right, good. Let's try that again. Oh! Yes! Beautiful. Now, my speakers, my dash is not in. So my front speakers are actually out of the car in the dash. But the rear speakers are in, and boom. We have a working original radio. All right. Next thing I want to do is test the lights on our radio when we turn our headlights on. Oh, boom. Did you see the lights light up? Beautiful. Now when I turn the lights off, see how the lights turned off? Excellent, guys. We have a working radio. Let's try our bass and treble. Perfect. Oh, that sounds so good. All right, mission accomplished, guys. Now it's time to solder all the wires. All right, guys, before we start soldering, I'm going to throw in, I have a couple of bench test speakers that I use in cars. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these in the car just so once I solder everything, I can confirm that the front speakers work. If you remember when we uninstalled the dash, the speaker wire is right here. So all we have to do is plug it in right there. We'll just set it right there. How about that? And then on the other side, I think the speaker wire is dangling right down there somewhere. So I'll go ahead and plug that in, and then we're going to start soldering. It is a Weller, and I usually set the temperature on about 4. But this is a nice soldering kit. You have your wet sponge to clean the tip of the soldering iron and the holder so you can stick it back in there and it holds it in place and doesn't burn something. So I just like to set this in the floorboard. All right, guys, this is the correct way to do electrical wiring in a car. You see guys using little, connectors, crimp-on connectors and splice wires together, and that's just the cheap and easy way to do it, guys. The way you want to do it is with a soldering iron. So first we'll tin the tip of our soldering iron. Here we go. All right, and the trick with solder, you don't actually touch the solder with the soldering iron. You heat the wire and then push the wire, soldering wire, into the wire. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but so what we're going to do here, we have our hot wire right here. All right, we're heating the wire. See, I'm not touching the solder to the iron. And then once it gets hot enough, the wire absorbs the solder. All right, there we go. It's hot enough that I can push the solder into the wire. And there we go. That's how you correctly solder. And that will never come undone, guys. I'll put our heat shrink over it. All right, there we go. We'll shrink that down with a heat gun later. And now I'm going to move to the next wire. And you want to be careful when you're using these heat guns that there's nothing like behind what you're heating, because this will melt them. So we're just going to put it up to the, there we go. And we just shrink it right on there. And that is a permanent solution. We basically restored the wiring in this car back to factory original. All right, let me get this one. We can probably just get all those at the same time. And there we go, guys. Perfectly restored factory original wiring. Let's get our radio back in. Okay, we can actually install the radio now because everything else comes out to install the radio. And we will just plug everything up. Goes in right there. That's it. Now let's get this all back in here in the dash. Boom. All right, let's test out our, we got the temporary front speakers connected. I just want to make sure.
Every scratcher gives you 2 chances to win. You can win a...
All right. There's our front speakers. All right, I'm going to try the rear speakers. Rear speakers work perfect. Front speakers work perfect. And then there's all speakers. And we'll turn on the lights. Everything lights up correctly. Turn off the radio and the antenna goes down, and I need to set our clock. So I'll go ahead and do that. And guys, that's a wrap for the original radio install on the 84 Coupe. I am down to the last item, installing the dash. So I'm going to go ahead, reinstall all the wood trim, which is coming back from Madeira Concepts, and it's perfect. It's going to be perfectly restored and beautiful. They're the best in the business. They're the only ones that do it right. They're out in California. So that's due back in 2 weeks, and then I'm going to get that installed on the dash, get the dash installed, and we're going to be done with this car, and it's going to be live on the website. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the dash install video.